Well, we are going to move now to the customer experience, which I think is so important, of course, because we can talk about our businesses all we want. It's the people who want to consume what we make, what we do. So today's customer, of course, has high expectations. We have two incredible leaders who will be coming out from multinationals. Let me introduce them, one of whom was my dinner companion last night. Peggy Rowe is the Executive Vice President, Chief Customer Officer at Marriott International. And then Shazia Syed is the Unilever's General Manager of Personal Care for the Middle East, Turkey, Bangladesh, and Pakistan, and the head of Arabia. Please welcome them to the stage. They'll be joined by my colleague, Emma Hinchliffe. Enjoy. Thanks.
Hi, good morning. Peggy, Shazia, thank you so much for being here.
Good morning.
You're welcome. And Peggy, an extra special thank you to you because we are here at a beautiful Marriott property.
Thank you all for hosting us here.
Yes, so thank you for having us.
Yes.
When people stay at this hotel or any hotel in your portfolio, what do you hope they come away feeling and how do you make that happen?
Well, I always talk about, how great service is about how we make people feel, right? And so I am very hopeful that you all will walk away with some memory here, whether it's some interaction you had with someone in our hotel or a great time or inspiration in this room that will bring you back to the memory of this hotel.
Yeah. And tell us about entering new markets. What is Marriott's approach to this region? Marriott has said that Saudi Arabia is one of its fastest growing markets in the world. So what presence do you have here and how do you expect it to change in the future?
Yeah, I think you heard about the stats around tourism right here in Saudi Arabia, and I think we have close to 90 hotels and a significant pipeline across all price points. And one of the things we're really doing is investing in the talent here. We have a program called Tashin, which is for men and women who are next generation, and really trying to upskill that talent. It's a partnership with Cornell, and it's leadership training for 6 months combined with on-the-job training in every discipline in the hotel, and it's one of the best programs. I was hearing about it yesterday, and I've been in the business at Marriott for 21 years, and I thought, I wish I could have done that program. Yeah.
It sounds amazing.
But as you experience, I hope, there's great service in this hotels. I've been all over the world, and I think what's happening here is really something special.
I know, they've been amazing. I've already had some of those memorable experiences you talked about.
Fantastic.
Well, Shazia, so you have built these global brands in the Unilever portfolio in many different markets. So how do you start to understand your local or your regional customer when bringing a brand into a new market? And can you give us an example of how you've integrated one of your brands into a new market?
Sure. So I think we are today sitting in very interesting times. Transformation barely describes what's going on around us. I think while some things remain the same, we are amidst some things which have not changed, which is the consumer is still king, but everything around that consumer is changing. How we reach the consumer, what are they looking for? I mean, they are existing today in a chaos. And for a marketer or for a company to reach consumers, gone are the days where you had a neat approach of one product, one way of reaching. So I think today it is how do you make method of that madness and how do you create organized ways of reaching the consumers as they see the world, in their world, whether it is through their culture, through people they value, like the influencers. So I think the whole scenario has completely changed. Unilever has I think, a three-pronged approach. First is about looking at this transformation. I think embedding culture is critical. So while we have global brands, and it's interesting, so if we are sitting in Saudi today, we see that actually trends travel here, like yesterday. So if you go to a pharmacy, the young people have heard about or are demanding the brands which are launched in the US. So while all that is going on, there is a local nuance, there is a culture. The young people, whether they exist anywhere, and I think the Saudis, it'll resonate with the Saudis. When I ask them about culture, they say, listen, our culture is non-negotiable. while we endorse and we love the global brands, but we want things our way as well. So how do we embed, resonate or be in sync with the culture, and not, worst thing can be when you go against a culture. Yeah. And I think the sweet spot is really living that culture, being that culture. And I think, I can give an example of our brand Dove. Dove is a global brand. It's the most loved brand here in Saudi and in the whole of the Arab world. It's the brand power is a way of measuring the brands, and it enjoys the most, high scores when it comes to that. But yet the expression is always linked to local, yeah? So that it resonates with a Saudi woman, it resonates with an Emirati woman or an Arab woman.
When you said that you've been having conversations and people here in Saudi Arabia are demanding global brands, what brands are you hearing? Is Dove the main one they're saying, or what other brands are they interested in?
Sorry, if you could.
You mentioned that people here in Saudi Arabia are really want global brands, and so what brands are you hearing are most in demand?
So we have quite a vast portfolio. So we've got skin cleansing brands. We've got Lux. We have Dove. We've got Lifebuoy, so we cover a wide spectrum, and then we are in deodorants, which are in different formats, sprays, sticks and roll-ons, with our powerful brands like Axe, Rexona, and Dove. And then we are also in oral care with our two brands, Signal and Close Up. So and then of course there are our other brands like on hair, which is Sunsilk, Tresemme, Dove, and so I think keeping in mind that this is the heart of where beauty and well-being or personal care is highly regarded, and there are specialized pharmacies where high-end brands are sold. So here I think is where we have to be at the speed of lightning to make sure that we don't leave any gap in the demand and the portfolio.
Fascinating. Peggy, you're in kind of a different position where you have your properties in, of course, local markets, and you also have a global consumer who, right, as we were discussing, who kind of has an expectation across Marriott wherever they're traveling. So how do you balance that regional versus global question when it comes to what you're serving your consumer?
I was listening to Shazia talking about how, products must be localized, and it's the same in hotels. I think the beauty of the hotel industry is that you want a really local experience, both for locals and for travelers, right? So we have this really challenging piece of where we need to create brands that are consistent globally, that deliver on experience like you have here at the St. Regis, right? The heart of the experience is about having this extraordinary experience in a small hotel that feels like the Astor home from the past, right? But we want that brought to life all over the world, whether it's for business or leisure in different markets. But that's part of the fun, right? Because our consumers want both that consistency of what a St. Regis delivers, but also that local flavor when you go around the world. So food and beverage is one of the places where we really localize, design a little bit, but hopefully you still feel that essence of the St. Regis brand when you walk in here.
Great. Shazia, you mentioned kind of this idea of, really getting to know the culture when you are bringing a product to a market or serving that market. To get a little more granular with that, how do you do that? Is it about hiring the right people in the market, on the ground? What mistakes do you see brands making when it comes to localizing their products?
So I think Saudi is a big market, and we are focusing a lot on local talent here, because we want to put our finger on the pulse of the youth. And it can't be, you can go to only that extent till you hear from the horse's mouth. And you get top-notch quality of talent with the passion. And then we have some very powerful platforms which excite the youth, who they can relate to that platform, whether it is gaming, which is at the heart of, it's a very passionate, Saudi is very passionate about gaming, or whether it is football. So we do a lot of work around FIFA, whether it is also, it's it's across the spectrum. So we are sponsoring a women's team for Rexona, while there's a lot of work on FIFA football across, because we all know how popular, it's next to religion, I'd say, football.
We should work on that together. We've got a FIFA partnership too.
So yeah, so I think when you have the local talent who can really tell you, I was listening to the panel earlier, and the local, it's like second nature. A person who's Saudi, is a footballer, is a gamer, how do they devise that is going to be totally different to how we read it and we devise a platform. So I think that's where we are. We are putting our fingers on all the top platforms, which are football, gaming, beauty. How is it defined in the Saudi definition, within the cultural nuances, and then our brands, which are well respected, well loved here, with the right portfolio, unleashed at the right time. That's our strategy in a nutshell.
Amazing. Well, if anyone has any questions, start thinking. I'll come to you in a moment. But Shazia, I'd also love to hear a little bit about your own story. So you grew up in Pakistan, and you also led that market for Unilever for many years. So tell us a little bit about you, and then also what lessons apply across markets, both populations that are very young. So what about your experience there helps you in KSA?
So look, being from Pakistan, I've spent most of my career in Pakistan, and the funny question I still get asked is, did you study in Pakistan? I said, yes, I did. So, I feel very proud about that I'm a product of Pakistan. But I've actually, through Unilever, because we have a program where we get a lot of opportunities to work in other countries. I've worked in Vietnam, Sri Lanka, Netherlands, Egypt. I looked after North Africa. I think what I've realized is that as a woman leader, when I became the GM in my own country, I think the big aha moment for me was that, there are so many, because it's a young population, 70% are under the age of 30 or less. What they do is the amount of aspiration they have. So it hit me that I have to play that role. So as a woman leader coming out of Pakistan, I am the source of inspiration, whether for those millions of people. So I have to wear that double hat of inspiring, of mentoring, and that was something that hit me in that role. And I'm very active there now. Across for women. And the other question that you had was, what is the difference, if any? And what I find in today's world with technology, with the digital age that we are in, actually the aspirations are not different. I can tell you, give you an example that if I look at Pakistan, in a small town, the young girl is aspiring for Huda beauty. Yeah? She cannot afford it, so she will go and buy something that's available closer to that, but she does aspire. So we have to realize that the information flow is across. They know the Dove, for example, across is a popular brand. So I think the myth that trends travel in a neat way is busted. Now it's about, of course, there is that reality of affordability, but I think trends travel across. So we as companies have to prepare for how we want to receive those trends and translate them into growth.
Yeah. Fascinating. Any questions for Peggy or Shazia? Oh, great. We have a question right here, if we have someone with a microphone. And please introduce yourself, just with your name and company.
Hi, good morning. My name is Marisa Andrada. I'm currently serving as a board director for Krispy Kreme. I'm also a recovering chief human resources officer from other iconic brands like Starbucks and Red Bull. So my question for you is, I'm a big believer in working in brands where the brand promise is not true externally unless the employees feel it internally. So for your companies, what are you doing to ensure that your employees are feeling that brand promise that you're delivering to your customer?
Yeah, great question. Maybe Peggy, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, absolutely. I think our whole philosophy for Marriott is that we treat our associates well, and that's how we deliver great customer experience. So everything we do starts with we want customers to feel this, but if they don't feel it through the delivery of our associates, then it's not successful. So we invest a lot of time, money, conferences, right, to make sure our associates are all over the world feel inspired. And that includes getting them involved in the experiences and things that customers would experience themselves. We invest in many partnerships like a Beyonce concert or Taylor Swift or FIFA, the F1, and we often send our own associates, and by the way, the owners of our hotels too, to these experiences so they can experience what our customers do.
Fascinating. Shazia, anything that you do at Unilever to support
Yeah, I
staff?
think the women, sorry, not the women, but the consumers today are very, very discerning. Yeah? Because of all the stimulus that is around them, they are very shrewd when it comes to picking on the core of the brand. So you can't go wrong. And they're very unforgiving and they move on because there's too many choices, too much stimulus. So I think what is important is that when we plan our activities, first of all, the focus on the fact that we've got the core right, we've got the functionality right, and on top of that, we've got the communication right, so that the brand in all layers meets the consumer's expectations. So I think it's an unforgiving world. It is a fast-moving world, and that makes our job much more complex. But of course, there is AI, which we have to adopt at the speed of lightning to help us navigate our brands.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Peggy, your role also includes Marriott Bonvoy, one of the best-in-class loyalty programs out there. So how do you drive not just purchases, but real consumer loyalty?
Yeah, I think I started with this. At the surface, it feels like loyalty is about points, right, and redemptions. But when we talk to customers about their experiences, and I ask them, I've talked to many customers all over the world, why do you come back to us year after year? It is because of the way we make them feel, right? And so I think that when you're thinking about building loyalty for your products, just trying to think about what is it, how do you create that meaning for somebody? And so for us, whether you're, if part of your experience is digital or physical, we think a lot about that journey end to end. And what is the customer feeling? I use emojis to try to say, like, when they're in this point in the process, how do they feel? And how can we make them feel better about that specific moment of truth? And at the end of the day, we've had people in our program for over 30 years. And it's about how we have made an impression on their lives, which is what drives loyalty. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Peggy and Shazia.
Thank you.
you.